Do you mind me asking, how old are you?
I just turned 20.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like for 20 years old, dude, you're so far ahead of the curve.
Gotcha. I thought you were going to be like, for 20 years old, you already got a full beard going out.
It's a sweet beard, too. It's a nice beard.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of... What's up, guys? This is Jalen Whitaker here, and you're listening to another episode of the Brewing Wealth Podcast. Today, we are joined by Kevin Black, and we are going to be talking about some motivation, how he started off his business, his early beginnings of his business, Credence, and yeah. So go ahead and grab your coffee, because it's going to get good. What's up, Brewing Wealth Podcast? We are back at it for another year of 2022. Shout out to Dustin behind the camera. We have Kevin Black here in Minot. He's an entrepreneur, business owner, and I'm gonna let him do his own intro here soon. If you guys are interested in pretty much listening to any of our podcasts, you can go subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the like button. Also follow all of our social media accounts. We are pretty much on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter in the future, maybe a little bit of LinkedIn. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. Kevin Black, how's it going?
Hey, doing well. Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a cold day.
Yeah, very cold day. Record wind chills.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know where we're at, we're actually in Minot, North Dakota, where it's negative 37 right now. That's what it feels like, but it says negative 17.
Yeah.
But you always have to go with what it feels like.
Absolutely.
So
100%.
That's why we have our jackets on. You know, I'm still like warming up a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to get the chill out of your bones.
Yep,
so
for sure. So go ahead and do your own intro.
Yeah.
Let everybody know who you are.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be on your podcast. It's great to be back here at With Room.
Yeah.
Actually, in kind of the earlier days of our business, we officed right upstairs. So I came down here all the time, so it's good to be back. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in North Dakota. I'm married. I have 3 kids. My wife, Callie, is also an entrepreneur. She owns her own insurance agency. 3 kiddos under 6, so we're busy at home. But during the day, my main job is I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Credence Energy Services. We're an oil and gas specialty chemical company, and the best way I can describe what we do is we're kind of like the doctors and the pharmacists of the oil field. So just like how the human body, as it ages, you know, bones can deteriorate and break down, or arteries can plug up and blood can stop flowing. Same thing happens in an oil well. All the pipe that goes from surface down to the reservoir rock where the oil is, that metallurgy needs to be protected. And so we test the water, the oil, and the gas that's produced, and then we come up with a specialty chemical that can treat that pipe to protect the pipe, and then we also prevent it from plugging off with mineral scale deposition. So aside from me going on a monologue about chemistry, which your listeners have absolutely no interest, like I said, the best way to describe, we're like the doctors and the pharmacists of the oil field.
And then you also are an investor in Whiskey 9.
Yeah, we're partnered with 3 other really great couples in town here. You know, it's kind of funny. We were some friends and I were sitting around at a golf simulator about a little over a year ago, and we thought how cool it would be if Downtown Minot had a golf simulator with an awesome food and beverage experience. And so we roped our wives into this little venture, and I think they ended up doing a lot more work than we did. But
Gotcha.
It's been a good little venture. We started it in January, and it's been really, really busy over there. So
January of 2022.
Of this year, yeah. So
That's
we've only been open for a little over a month. So
nice. And then anything else that you are invested in, involved with?
You know, we love Downtown Minot. Callie and I did live in some other, bigger cities, Washington, D.C., Minneapolis, and we got a taste of what a really dynamic downtown environment can be. And so, along with several other folks who are wanting to be the change downtown, we've invested in some other properties, and we're excited. everybody talks about how there's this new buzz kind of in downtown, and I certainly feel it, but I truly believe we're only just getting started. I think we're at the tip of the iceberg, and there's a lot more coming.
Yeah, and I think what's important is trying to find stuff to do for that under 21 crowd.
Absolutely.
Which we talked about.
We talked about that, about a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
And another thing is like, what else is there other than just having a nice beverage? I like how you guys have the golf simulator. A part of because it's a bar golf simulator.
Yeah, the basement's 21 and up, but the main floor is all ages. So absolutely, families can come in and teenagers,
Gotcha.
college kids, anybody can come in and utilize the simulator upstairs.
Nice. Going back to the first business, name again?
It's Credence, kind of like the band.
Yeah.
Credence Energy Services.
So how did you even step foot into that? Because I'm always curious about people who own industries like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, where do you even start? What's the business loan look like? Like, how did you start? What can you tell somebody on this podcast? If you didn't know already, I guess the motto pretty much of Brewing Wealth is we talk about motivation, entrepreneurship, and just going out there and getting it. You know what I mean? So bringing authentic people like yourself to the podcast where you can talk about stuff like that, because there is somebody out there that's like trying to figure out how to do that, and what was their first steps,
Right.
Just kind of in like the most like simplest form, how did you get started with that first,
Life takes you on a lot of twists and turns, and if you asked me even up until my senior year of college that I would be in oil and gas, I would have laughed you out of the room. I mean, I never. I'm actually fourth generation oil and gas. My great grandfather was in the business. My grandfather was in the business. He owned his own business. My dad and uncles, they all owned their own businesses. So entrepreneurship kind of ran in the blood, but I never dreamed I would be working in Western North Dakota in oil and gas. But right out of college, my cousin, who's now my business partner, said, you got to come out to Western North Dakota. The Bakken is booming. And it was absolutely booming. And I was literally heading to Minneapolis for a job. And I turned my car around and I drove out to Williston, North Dakota, and took a job, pretty much a field level job. I was out there 6-7 days a week in all kinds of temperature conditions. And, I learned the business, the chemical business from the ground up. Again, I had no interest in chemicals. It's kind of just where I landed. And I think the moral of the story is, you got to take every opportunity that life gives you and make the best of it, because you never know where it might lead. And frankly, there was a period of time where I was like, I'm over this, 20 below weather, it's blizzarding, I'm out in the field. This really is not
What keeps
fun.
you going then?
Well, what kept me going is it was the early days of the Bakken, and almost immediately when I got into the business, I realized there's so many opportunities, there's so many better ways to do things than the way people were doing them. And I think that's how so many entrepreneurs start, whether you're a coffee shop owner or whether you're baking bread down the street, right? You've been in the business and you realize, holy smokes, I can do this way better. And, that's where it started for us. But we started very, very, very small. Myself and two cousins, we got together and we said, hey, there's a way better way to do this one particular application. There was a niche. No one was doing it. We felt like we could do it safer, we could do it more affordably, and we could do it faster. All things that a customer is looking for, right? And so it was pretty funny. We started the business at the end of 2014, 3 cousins, but we couldn't afford to put us all on the payroll. So we made my one cousin, Wyatt, work for free for about a year.
That's how that works.
And he was all right with it. He kept his other job, but that first year was a struggle. 6 months into it, I'll never forget, April of 2015, we didn't sell a single thing. There was zero revenue that came in the door, and it was there's some pretty wild times that first year.
So I don't know how your setup was, but like, how important was finances throughout the building blocks of your business? Like, I've met a guy, back to Devin Hunter, right, where he told me he only had like $3,000 saved up, and he was like a pizza delivery guy before he started a concrete business, where you're like, the expense difference is like tremendous,
Huge.
Was there ever like hard times where it's like, I don't know if we can do this? And how important was that to you guys, starting out? Because a lot of people are scared,
Yes.
And one thing I will say before you start is, when you start a business, you don't realize how quickly you can make money. You know, the first year it's always like, but that second year, once you like follow through, you know, because a lot of people they quit at like 8 to 12 months range, you know what I mean? And then you get to the second year and you're like, okay, now I'm pulling in some money to pay off what I didn't make from last year, you know? So how important was that to you guys?
You are spot on. It's that first 6 months, you're probably going to figure out if you're going to make it or not, or maybe a little longer. Like your friend, our business was very capital intensive to start. We bought a very big, expensive piece of pumping equipment. And that was the hardest part, was trying to figure out how are we going to get enough money to put a down payment on this truck. And then find somebody to finance it. We talked to a lot of the major banks, you know, and it was hilarious. We go into these major banks and they're like, yeah, we want to help you out. And then we submit the business plan. They were like, okay, we need 3 years of business financials. They're like, well, did you miss the first part? Like, we're just starting here. Well, yeah, but we still need 3. And I'm like, I can't tell you how many people told that. Like, how, you know. So it was really weird. We saved up a bunch of money. I actually took a loan out from my father-in-law, which is a little bit scary.
A lot of people tell you to not do business with family. But.
Newly married, took a loan from my father-in-law. He's a farmer. I was highly motivated because I knew if I didn't pay the loan back, I'd be an indentured servant on his farm for probably the rest of my life.
Yeah, then you have to see him every day.
And I have to see him every day, figuring out how I'm going to pay this loan back. But, you know, eventually... This is where, like, if you're starting up, don't be afraid to go and talk to those smaller community banks. We actually found a great community bank up in Botno. Pat Arts, Dane and Ladone were our first bankers up there. They looked at us. They saw our history. They saw that we had experience. They took a gamble on us, I'm not going to lie, but those smaller community banks, I feel like if you develop a relationship and you have a really clear plan, that was the thing. We had a very, very clear and realistic business plan, and we have a really clear business plan that shows your cash flow, your pro formas. That's when I think they kind of like, you're right. If we can get past that first 6 months, there's some promise in this, and you can really start to roll. And then, we were grateful for the community bank, State Bank of Botno. They gave us the first chance, and then it was kind of off to the races after about a year.
Yeah, and you know, another thing too that a lot of people don't understand is like, I don't know how you feel about this, but most businesses, if you take the calculated approach to it, you don't use your own finances, right? At least you try not to.
Right.
You try to use banks, you know. It's so awesome. I tell people all the time, like, we're blessed if you're born in America, you know, because the opportunity here is like insane, you know. Going from like an ex-con to a multimillionaire, like that's awesome, you know. But community banks are key to any business owner, and people 100%. Don't understand that. Like they want to be a part of Chase or something like that, you know, something big right away. When like if you just go to your local bank, like they're more than likely to give you a chance, you know.
They are. Just
touching base back on what you said about going to all the big banks, you know. Because I've definitely been there myself, you know. I'm like, oh man, that could be cool to be. What is it called? First Western, you know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, cool. And then they're like 3. I'm like, yeah, I don't got that, man. Like, how you expect me to have that, you know?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And what I found is these local banks, you know, they want to see their community successful. So they're almost invested in, well, they are invested in when they finance you.
Yeah.
But they're also really great at looking at your business plan, and they might challenge you a little bit and like, hey, have you thought about it this way? Or I think probably the biggest mistake most entrepreneurs make starting out is, and I'm guilty of it, not fully understanding the true costs to run your business. You know, we kind of go into it like with rose-colored glasses and pie in the sky sometimes. And we don't think about, well, how much is insurance really going to be? How much is rent going to be? What's it going to cost to pay me? Oh, wait, I've got to pay taxes on top of that? Oh, dang. All those hidden costs that you don't think about when you put your cash flow out or your pro forma out, that can really sting people pretty hard.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where the local banker is so good in being a partner, like almost like a business partner to you. Like, hell, let's make this cash flow and really make sure we can make money at whatever it is we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And getting on top of that as well, you seem like you're kind of a finance guy in your own world. Outside of business, how important is finances to your daily life? Like, are you somebody who checks all the time? Were you taught these things in high school? Did you have to go and get it yourself pretty much? But you also said that you were kind of a part of like the business entrepreneurship family. So were you taught, at home? And, to also lead up on that, like if anybody isn't taught, or what can somebody do that, you have learned from?
Well, good question. Really good question, because I took a few accounting classes, and I think my parents always taught me to make sure I'm balancing my checkbook, as much as I can, and don't bury your head in the sand. Like you really gotta stay on top of the numbers, and you gotta have the data. One of the fatal mistakes, it's not fatal because we survived, but early on, kind of a control freak in the sense that I tried to do everything in the business, right? I was selling, I was doing the engineering, I was doing the safety, I was doing the finances. And what I found was you reach a certain point in your business growth where managing your finances are so important. And if your business is not managing finances, you really need to bring in someone who's really good at it. And so I should have done that earlier. I should have handed the reins off.
Yeah.
I'm not an accountant.
Yeah.
But boy, you can get in a lot of trouble if you're not capturing your revenue, paying your bills, and then making sure you're paying your taxes, right? So I would say I brought in help because I knew that wasn't my strong suit to do the day-to-day management of the finances. That said, I spent a lot of my time trying to learn and listen to good money managers and how to invest well and how to manage your cash well. Cash is king, especially now as we kind of go into an inflationary period.
I beg to differ.
You don't think so?
I think cash flow is king.
Well,
and then cash is queen, or second underneath.
Excuse me. Yeah. Well, cash flow is huge. If you're not staying on top of your receivables, well, you can't grow the business. But I also believe in incremental growth.
Yeah.
I believe in incremental growth because so many times, especially in the oil and gas industry, I've seen so many people blow up overnight, and they think they're high on the hog and they're buying brand new trucks, everything.
Yeah.
And that incremental growth kind of keeps you grounded. It's far more sustainable. So we've always tried to grow at a good rate, but incrementally, and not get too far out over our skis.
Interesting. Hey guys, thank you for tuning into our podcast, Brewing Wealth. We want to take this time to thank With Room Coffee and Good Talk Studios for all their continued support. Now back to the podcast. Pretty much every single time we have somebody on the podcast, we like to talk about influencers.
Right.
So who is your greatest influencer that pushed you? It could be anybody. You can do family if you want to.
Yeah.
Or you can do somebody like Michael Jordan that you've never met. You know what I mean? Who is your number one? Why? And what have they done for you personal life and your business?
Yeah. Well, aside from my parents, who have been, my greatest fans and have been incredibly supportive and who I've looked up to my entire life for so many reasons, who I love dearly, probably the most influential person in my life outside of my family is a guy named Prakash Matthew. When I was a student at NDSU, Prakash Matthew, he was the vice president of student affairs. Incredible family, came from India. A very strong Christian background, and he was sponsored by a church in Fargo to come from India when he was in college. He's just got a remarkable story of overcoming all kinds of crazy stuff and going literally halfway across the world to Fargo, North Dakota.
Yeah.
And I met him my freshman year of college, and then my senior year of college, I had a chance to serve as a student body president. And that's where I really got to know Prakash. And every Friday afternoon, I would go to Prakash's office, and he would just challenge me. And it was really a lot of it was about servant leadership. And again, whether you're selling coffee or oil field chemicals, it all starts with leadership. Your success, doesn't matter what you're doing, starts at the top with leadership. And, we believe at Credence, one of our guiding principles is servant leadership. There's one type of leadership, and it's servant leadership, and he would, I would kind of go vent, I'd tell him what wasn't going great. And then he had this way of bringing me back down to earth and humbling me. And he taught me so much about humility and putting your team and your people ahead of yourself. And when you do that and you take care of your team, everything kind of just takes care of itself after that. And so Prakash, I still talk to Prakash to this day. he calls me his son, and I consider him another father figure. I'm grateful to have someone in my life like that who can kind of bring you back home, ground you and remind you when tough things happen, whether it's work or whether it's personal, like remind you of your principles and challenge you on who you are at your core.
And you said he's from India?
He's originally from India. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy? Like, again, like people do not understand like how awesome it is to be in North Dakota.
Yeah.
In America, just in general,
Yeah.
Last night I was talking to a guy at my job. He's from Chile.
Really?
And
wow.
like, what the hell are you doing in North Dakota, Minot, And plain and simple, like he was up here. He had a brother that came up here to kind of along the same lines as you. Not the same business at all. Just doing some oil field stuff, more hot shotting, But it was just like, man, like that's awesome, you know. And I meet a bunch of different people who are just like, become all the way from, what was the other guy? Australia and Venezuela.
Really?
It's just like, what the hell? Like, what are you guys doing?
You can look at this country and it's not perfect, and we've got things that we need to do better at. But at the end of the day, it's stories like that, your friends, your coworkers, that still prove that America is the greatest country on the planet. And it's because of opportunity. Yeah. And whether it's, you want to pursue education or you want to start a business, I mean, that's why we're still the beacon on the hill.
Yeah, that's true. That's awesome. If you didn't already, I told you before in our talk 2 weeks ago that I do my own advertising.
Yeah.
We're kind of going through a business refresh. So it's not going to be under my name right now because in the future, the goal is to obviously have employees, and a whole team.
Scale it up.
So why would you want to work for somebody like Whitaker Media, or it could be something a little bit more, different,
Mm-hmm.
So new name, we'll talk about that later because it's not LLC yet.
Okay.
But pretty much we do advertising in a different way. So everybody pretty much knows billboards, newspapers, commercials, but what most business owners are forgetting about is TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that's how you get either employees or people to see your business. How do you guys do advertising at, the Whiskey 9 that you're invested in and at your own personal business?
Well, I'll admit this is not my strong suit at all. Marketing is not my forte, and I'll probably have to punt on Whiskey 9 because I don't have anything to do with the marketing on there. I think they intentionally keep me out of that because they're smart.
Yeah.
It's interesting in my business at Credence. It's a very intense sales process. I mean, you're selling to a highly technical group that's making a decision somewhere down in Houston. So, in terms of selling my product, it does me no good to billboard or whatever locally because so much of who we're selling to is at the local level. That said, where we advertise and where we need advertising is to attract talent. That's what I'm selling. I'm selling Credence locally and in Williston and Dickinson to future team members. We are entering an unprecedented employment crunch, and we need good talent so bad. We've always done the traditional methods of Indeed and stuff like that, but
real quick, we'll have a thing that says apply now.
Yeah.
Underneath the podcast.
That'd be great. Yeah, if you can stream that across the banner. There you go. Credence-energy.com. So that's where we advertise. And, we're for the first time, we're investing in a full-time marketing position at Credence. Kelsey Opdahl is her name. She's been with me since the beginning at Credence. She's worn every hat. It's just funny as a small business evolves, right?
Yeah.
She was the first accounting associate at Team Credence, and now full-time marketing. But her and I both acknowledge hey, we need some help. We need some help. We need to think of some fresh ideas. And she's smart and she's up on all the trends and whatnot. I'm not. So we need help in that area for sure. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, in your mind, I'll put my banner down there.
We might have to have you stop by and give us maybe consult us for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, me and Dustin will show up and let's see what we can do.
There you go.
Yeah, one of my favorite influencers is Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you know who that is.
You have to tell me about him.
Well, you don't know. You said you didn't do a lot in marketing.
No.
So he's pretty much a guy from Belarus, Russia.
Okay.
Who his whole family moved here to New York, and he built this entire marketing business, you know, and everything that he talks about happens pretty much, you know, like TikTok's going to be the main thing, the internet's going to be the main thing, you know, and it happens. So he pretty much pushes me to like, oh, go and do this, go take it, go do it. Another one is David Goggins.
Okay.
You know who that is?
I don't.
Man, you went to Texas? You know?
I don't.
Wait, do you go to Texas like often? Like, do you have like a little family base down there at all?
Maybe like once a quarter. I go down to Texas.
I gotta send you home with some books, man.
Okay.
Pretty much, he's a guy who is super awesome. Probably the only Black American to finish Ranger School, SEALs, and
oh man,
what is it called? Anyways, special.
Special Forces
Special
dude.
Forces. Yeah. Hardest dude on the planet, and he's just one of those guys. Like when I'm like laying in bed, he comes up on my feed, and like this is how he talks to you. Imagine
you'll have to share it like this. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine like a 55-year-old being like, oh, what the fuck are you doing laying in bed? And I'm like, God damn it, dude, I gotta get up now, you know?
Motivator.
Yeah, he's an awesome motivator. So when it comes to pushing the business, you know, and doing like the podcast stuff, those two guys are like 100% like, just go out there and fucking do it. You know what I mean? Because if you never do it, you'll never know the outcome, you know, to anything. Yeah. And you pretty much said the same thing too, you know? Yeah. Making that turn on the way to another job, you know what I mean? Yeah. Something inside of you said this is going to be the better opportunity. Yeah. Betting on yourself, you know, that's super awesome. So yeah, I mean, how do you feel about that? People that bet on themselves and just do it. What do you have to say to people that, you know, need to do that?
You know, the hardest step is always the first step. You know, and you know, one saying I learned a long time ago, it's like you have to find that courage. You have to find that courage to take that first step. Now, I'm not saying be stupid about it. Yeah. One analogy was like, hey, at some point you got to jump off the dock into the boat so you can go sailing. Just make sure the boat's like close enough so like that if you miss it, you can swim back to the dock. Yeah, you know?
For sure.
But you got to, like, there's nothing more rewarding in my professional experience than chasing that dream of being an entrepreneur. And so you need to surround yourself with those folks that can encourage you. That is the other, like, last probably piece of advice, or maybe the most important, is if you're thinking about entrepreneurship, you're thinking about jumping off that dock, you have to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs who will encourage you, because, man, there are times where you're going to, like, doubt yourself and you're going to think back, but had I not had people around me to encourage me, you know, I don't know what would have happened. Would we be where we are today? Hard to say. Probably not. But you know, if you believe in your heart you've got something special and you've got something unique, something different. Again, different. You got to be different. Don't go do what everybody else is doing, because eventually you're going to get washed out and it's going to be commoditized. But if you got something in your heart that you believe in, find the courage to go do it. There's nothing going to be more rewarding in your professional life than going after it. 100%.
Motivating, Mr. Kevin Black. What are we at for time? 28. Damn, it's been a great conversation.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes clips, I'm hoping this picked that all up. I love doing that with Dustin. He needs a mic of his own.
There you go. Get 3 in here.
So, yeah, when we started, you talk about different. When we started, I remember going into my business and I really like bet on myself. Like I just got a raise, a full-time job. And something inside of me was just like, what the fuck am I doing here? Yeah. You know? And so I quit. You know, I left for a little while because I don't want to burn bridges. Right. Don't burn bridges.
Never burn bridges.
You know. But I took a calculated approach. You know? It was like, okay, let's not go full-time. Let's go back down to part-time, you know, and like work 2 times a week. Yep. Once a week. Every other week, you know? So that I know that I'm meeting the certain requirement of like, okay, this is going to pay my bills. The rest I'm going to bet on myself on, you know? Because when you're doing business, like you can work, but there's only so much that you can do. You have 8 hours to go and burn, you know? Yep. And that's how I kind of went about it. But when I started, it was kind of like photography, videography, for businesses. Sure. That was my business, you know. I thought everybody was doing photography and videography, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna go do it for businesses only, you know. But then I was like, slowly on in the process, when I thought about profits and actually like capitalizing on making money, because like making like $200 a place wasn't enough, you know. I pretty much bet on if a business can trust me to be their, you know, their CMO, you know, their chief marketing officer or direct agent, you know, direct marketing, you know, person. So when it came to like photography, videography, we also created TikToks and Reels. This is when we started diving into that. And basically like we get your information and we post it for you.
Sure.
So you as a business owner, you can pretty much do your thing as a business. Focus on
your core business.
Yep. While I, you know, am like on TikTok 24/7, like making sure people are liking, you know, posting on LinkedIn for you, whatever it may be, you know. So that's kind of the business approach that we've been going at. And now this year, the business approach pretty much is the same thing, but more of, so I don't like college. I don't know. I've never went, you know, I'm not going to. I just don't want to be a part of the Great Depression that's going to happen in 20 years because of college debt.
I think you're smart.
Pretty much. But there's a lot of people that go to marketing classes, get out, and they don't capitalize on it because they can't find that opportunity.
100%.
You know, you go to businesses like yourself, most of the time people already have like a direct marketing person. But I feel like a lot of people don't understand that you need a team to market your business, you know?
Sure.
So basically at my business now, the goal is to do the same thing that we've been doing, attacking all social platforms, but creating opportunities for people who are coming out of college with that degree. So that's the business plan that we're going after, and I think it's going to work pretty well.
That's awesome.
Because in like, when you go and buy a car, you know, you talk to the salesman, you know. So when you come to the business of mine, you know, you're talking to somebody who's going to direct you to, you know, this team or this group, you know, that group, that core, you know, whatever it may be. There's going to be somebody in there that's going to help you, you know.
Right.
And I think it's going to work. And I'm really excited for 2022. So. Like, it always gives me goosebumps, and I'm like, yeah, let's do this, you know?
That's awesome. I can see the passion building up.
You just gotta grab it, you know? But we started February 12th of last year.
Wow, okay. So you just had your 1-year anniversary.
Yeah, and I'll definitely say I learned a lot. Number one thing is you find out who's real and who's real in your life. You know what I mean? Some people are just like, yeah, go and do it, you know, and they do nothing to help you, you know. So like back to what you said, keeping yourself around people who understand and want to push you is super important. Because I've still had entrepreneurs around me, you know, but they didn't see the vision, you know. And there's a difference between an entrepreneur and somebody who's just a business owner who's money hungry. You know. I wanted somebody with passion, you know. So now I only involve myself with people with passion, you know.
Absolutely.
You're not on this podcast if I don't think you have passion. You know what I mean?
Right.
Something told me to get you on the podcast. Pretty much. So that's how it works, and that's how I wanted to be different, you know. But yeah.
I think you got an amazing story, Jalen. I can tell, you know, right now that you're gonna be incredibly successful in this marketing business.
That.
But one thing you said I really love, and that was when you started this, you said you were calculated. I think that is so important. Again, I sound like a broken record, but incremental steps. Incremental steps, and you know, you've got the passion. You believe in yourself. You're betting on yourself. You know exactly what it is you want to do. And you're focused, and that tells me like you're getting there. You're getting there. Just keep taking those incremental steps. Stay focused on what your core business is, and that you know, I said this at Startup Minot is you're going to be tempted in your business along the way to maybe get into something over here. It's marketing, but maybe it's not like really. But hey, someone wants you to do it. Like, okay, well, hey, there's some revenue to chase. There's some dollar signs. Yeah, we could use some more revenue. Let's go chase it. And you know, you start to get in mission drift, right? It's happened to me. It's happened to our business at times. You know, stay focused, because what you're talking about being different, focusing on that business, being that like true business partner, even if they already have a marketing person, being a true business partner and helping the business grow, you know, you might not be, Zuckerberg overnight, but you keep taking 1 month at a time. You're already a year in. I bet this last year flew by faster than you can even imagine.
Dude, so fast. And like the other thing is like keeping up too, and like finding somebody to keep up with you. Like Dustin, like at work we never talked before, and I was like, okay, he seems like a camera guy.
Yeah.
Let's see what he can do.
Building relationships, partnerships.
Yeah, and the one thing that I always worried about with people and within relationships is how are you going to be able to keep up with me? Because like at work, we always talk about this. Like nobody understands but Dustin, like what I do outside of work.
Yeah.
Like I'm so focused on like getting to the point where like. I'm looking at the future for my family. The family that the life I never got. That's what I'm striving for my own kids. You know what I mean? So when I'm like working a full-time job, part-time at a coffee place, which I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Had to squeeze in our
You're
podcast.
hustling right now.
You know what I mean? Had to squeeze in our podcast. I was like, shit, that laughed over each other. And then trying to run not trying, because I'm doing, doing a full-time business, like all that in one. Like you would expect me to be like pulling up in a Tesla, but that's not the goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The goal is far bigger than that. And I think, betting on yourself is really important, but understanding where you're trying to get to, and not going into it like, but taking the calculated approach. Because too many people go on TikTok and they listen to one person, like, oh, take the risk, and I'm just like. Okay, awesome. I love the motivation.
Yeah.
But you just can't tell somebody to just go and quit their job.
No. It makes me cringe, man. How many times I see, like, oh, we're gonna go do this, and like I see them 6 months later, and they never had a plan. They never truly wrote it. For me, until I write it down on paper, whether it's on a notebook or in a PowerPoint or an Excel file, if I don't write it down and I see the steps, it's not real to me.
Yeah.
And just too many people jump off that dock and have no boat to swim to or no dock to come back to, know. And I agree 100% with what you're saying.
And what I realized too is like when it comes to the business that I'm doing, it's always full time. There's never an hour or a minute off because marketing is forever. While I'm sleeping. There's like we have posts that go off at 2 a.m. because the East Coast, was already up. Sure. They're getting ready for stock market to open
West
up at
Coast
4.
Hasn't gone to bed yet.
Exactly. So it's like you have to have those posts open at 2 a.m., 1 a.m., 3 a.m. So we already have that prepared, So while I'm already sleeping, like stuff's going on still.
Do you mind me asking, how old are you?
I just turned 20.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like for 20 years old, dude, you're so far ahead of the curve.
Gotcha. I thought you were going to be like, for 20 years old, you already got a full beard going out.
That's a sweet beard, too. It's a nice beard.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of rolled out of bed, so I didn't do anything to it. But appreciate it. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the goal, and that's, where we're going with everything. So.
Well, there's nothing wrong. I mean, of course, we do these businesses because they're our passion. We love it. But there's nothing wrong with making money.
Oh, no.
And
don't get that wrong.
And I think creating like what you're talking about, I think what you were saying there was creating financial freedom for both yourself and your family. I mean, that's the American dream.
Yep.
Like, living a paycheck to paycheck, that's tough. That's tough. But I mean, you're 20 years old right now. I mean, you're in that age where you can hustle and you can go. And, other entrepreneurs, they have family. Like when I started my business, my wife was pregnant, and it was like, holy smokes, this is real. Either
fucking risk right there.
There's some risk, but it was calculated risk.
It was calculated. Yep. We got to make that a thing.
Yeah. So
there's gonna be a shirt company that we're starting called Calculated Risk.
Calculated Risk.
That's where all of our profits are gonna come from.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it's I think having that goal of financial freedom and being able to get to your kids' t-ball games and dance classes, and that's super rewarding. So it's a good thing to strive for as you think about where you want to eventually get to.
100%. Is there anything that you want to cap off the podcast that you would like to tell anybody who is going to be viewing in the future or listening, to kind of let people know who you are? Biggest thing that, some people have something to say right after they meet somebody or have had a great conversation. Like anything you got for the viewers?
Man, we covered a lot of stuff today. It was a great conversation. There's so many good nuggets that you mentioned that came out of this. For me, entrepreneurship, it's all about not being afraid to do it all by yourself.
Yep.
And not being afraid to ask for help. Whether you're hatching your business plan, build that network of people that you think, would you be willing to take at my business plan? Look at my business plan. What am I missing here? And again, a business plan could be on the back of a napkin. It could be a 20-page Word document, but you got to have something. To go into a business and not have a plan is recipe for absolute disaster.
Yep.
So if you're in that stage of your business, ask for help.
Yep.
If you're further along down the road, don't hesitate to continue to ask for help. But it's again, for me, this has just been a rewarding experience, and I'm excited for you. I think we need to get you over to Credence and have you do a little consulting.
100%. I'm ready.
With Kelsey and see where it goes. But I guess the last thing I just leave off with, I know you got listeners everywhere. Again, our passion is Downtown Minot. Outside of my day job at Credence, my wife and I, our passion is Downtown Minot. And I just, I'd encourage people to come down to Minot, check out all the new things.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just Whiskey 9.
Yeah.
It's the Up Your Axe, the new Axe Throwing Bar. It's High Third. It's Starving Rooster. Putt District.
Can't forget
Magic City Sweets. Yeah, so I was just going to say Magic City Sweets.
Yep.
Christine, awesome.
And the famous hoagies, of course.
It's coming alive, man. And so there's a culture that can be built in a downtown that you can't build anywhere else. And so we love it. Come down and check it out. Support it. There's a lot more to come.
For sure. Last but not least, let's go ahead and one more time shout out With Room Coffee and Rebecca Alvarez. Awesome place to be, man. It's so cool. She came in clutch pretty much. This is going to be, like I said before, our main area for podcasts in the future. So stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe, follow all of our socials. And Kevin, you hit it off for 2022. You are our official first episode. All of our other ones are kind of our pilot episodes, seeing how everything was going, So if you want to see the other 5 episodes, you can check out our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube where you'll find us. And then hopefully this week we'll get up on Spotify if we can figure out how to do that. Dustin's the man with the plan.
There we go.
Alrighty. Well, till next time, you guys have a good one.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man.
Appreciate it.
Wait. We got to do the fist bump.
Every single time. All right. Now it's official.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Brewing Wealth.
You can go ahead and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. We'll be on all of our social platforms. And don't forget to subscribe and like on YouTube as well.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.